Good afternoon. Thank you all for, all right, give yourself a hand, right? Thank you. We're going to flip the switch a little bit here so that we can keep up on the schedule. Like to give a shout out to the people in the other room over there. Did y'all hear them? They shouted back to you. And all the folks on the webinar as well. What we're going to do now is get some input from you out of the groups that you were in. And we've identified a couple of champions that's going to present 1 minute, one of the big ideas that came out of your group. And I'm sure that there are a number of ideas. But we want something that when it came up out of your group, everybody around the table said, wow, what a great idea. We need that in our region. We need that in our 7 region area if we're going to be prosperous and create a community for the next 50 years for ourselves and our kids and grandkids. So that's what we want to do. Today, we have the presenters are members of the executive committee, but for the most part. But in the future, we hope that the presenters will be coming out of those that are participating in the process. So this is just the first summit, and we plan to have at least 3 more summits, and you will have that opportunity a little bit more, but we want it for today to kind of get started by having some of the members of the executive committee. So with that, we're going to start with a big idea. I may even give you 2 ideas if you can get it done in 1 minute that came out of your group, and we're going to start with the economy group, the education, workforce, economic development. And we have Mr. Foley. This is going to be a great challenge. 1 minute.
Everybody that knows me says exactly the same thing. A microphone is like, well, for an Irishman to get a microphone is the highest temptation. Yes.
Yep, let's go.
Global Hub was very, very important to our table and to the group in general. With the advent of the expansion of the Panama Canal, the widening of it, and what that presents for ports, inland and regular ports, the infrastructures that we have in Florida, especially South Florida, we think that that's going to be extremely important to our economy and to our evolution. Also, the advent of trading corridors from east-west, which is traditional to Europe and to the Far East, we think that it's going to change to...
Come over here.
Sure.
So that the people on the webinar can
to include a north-south corridor, the importance of the north-south corridors, because the economies in Brazil, we already have a strong relationship with Canada, but the Caribbean, Venezuela, if they get their politics in order, Argentina has great promise. We can hear that firsthand if you wish. That's incredibly important. Another important thing that we discussed was the importance of a sustainable economy and the creation of jobs. We think that that's extremely important to the next 50 years in South Florida. And we can't reach that goal without the third item we discussed, which is education in support of the 2 that I've just discussed. The enhancement and the improvement of the education systems as they relate to sustainable jobs and the opportunities presented by the global hubs. We think that, and Roy Rogers was very articulate in stating how important that is to us.
So your big idea is really related to developing the ports and the hubs around the ports.
More than that, yeah.
Did you all hear me try? I mean, I really did.
Yeah. Try to end it? Not a chance. The ports are a part of the most important item for our table, but it includes interior ports, inner ports, rail, transportation in general. These are all interwoven and extremely important to the next 50 years here. And the jobs and the education to provide for those jobs. Most of you that have a college-age daughter, as I do, are praying that she'll come back. But in order to have her come back, we have to provide a meaningful job for her. She's studying abroad and up north, and I want her to come back, and I'm going to fight for these ideas.
Okay. The economy, which encompassed education, workforce, economic development. Our next group is the Development Partners Group, which includes housing, transportation, and healthy communities.
Clarence, I'll be very brief. Connectivity was one of the big issues. Connectivity among counties. What a great idea that was. Connectivity, and the other idea is quality neighborhoods, which is the way that we get Kevin's daughter to come back. You know, if it's a really nice neighborhood, we thought that would be a good approach.
So again, it's connectivity of the counties, connectivity of the neighborhoods. Let's give Ramona a hand for a great idea. Next, I think you got a hint that since you went 1 minute and, but anyway, we're gonna go, we're gonna go to the Environment Committee that includes natural resources and agriculture. And could you come up here in the middle and introduce yourself? Oh. Okay. How many want to wager that this is not going to be in 1 minute? Go ahead.
One of the key issues was potable water. And one idea that I thought was extremely useful for us all to be aware of is that in our financing of our various developments of our water facilities, we need to take into account, let's don't max it out, because if we do, that means we have to max out delivery. What we want to is encourage conservation, not maximum use of water. That's going to change how we finance our water facilities. We need to think about that. A couple of other quick points, and then I'll give it to you. Protecting the glades, and I think other folks are going to look at that as well. We're going to look at sending water south, and that's an essential ingredient to protecting the glades, to rehydrating the aquifers down to the south. We want to encourage agriculture for the open space and also for the topography, because there are topographies that other uses are not efficient as we're confronted with potential storm waters and increases of water.
I think we have some of the same overarching themes. We just didn't have time to consolidate all of our groups, but we have 5 overarching themes. The first one is water supply, transportation, and energy efficiency. And you can see on this map, the fast rail is on here as a major way to reduce sprawl and to get people moving. Sustainable infrastructure, meaning less car-centric and building in places that we need to redevelop, infill. Taking the pressure off of sprawl in this section here, and you can see all the way up and down we have a green belt. And I would say connectivity is a really good theme. I know that's what your group used, but it came up over and over again in our group through transportation and also through ag and the green belt. And then finally, we think that that's also a tourism driver. We need to get our public transportation east and west so that people can visit our national parks. I think that's a big thing as well. And then finally, we noticed that in the survey there wasn't any mention of environment or agriculture. I think that's a problem.
Great.
Speaking of agriculture, I want to talk just briefly about that. Agriculture is an open space activity. It does provide aquifer recharge, habitat, and also in vulnerable areas such as in particular in South Dade, from sea level rise issues that we will be facing with in the next 50 years. So keeping infrastructure and development out of some of those areas, I think, would be very key to retaining agriculture as a viable industry here.
The only thing that's on this map that we didn't really get into was just the Everglades scenario. You know, stop sending water to these estuaries here and send it south to Florida Bay and Biscayne Bay. So the flowway, storage, and water quality.
Excellent. Let's give them a round of applause. So really, the big bodacious idea here is the idea of sustainability and coordination regards to our water supply, conservation plans, the Everglades, Lake Okeechobee. I think that's very important to the future in the next 50 years of our community. Next group is climate resiliency, not climate change, climate resilience.
Climate resilience, based on the grammar police this morning. Our big idea is that climate change really needs to be incorporated into the culture, not only of future planning, but of governance in Florida. And that includes providing leadership in energy efficiency and adaptation solutions to create a climate resilient community, looking at new and innovative funding mechanisms for adaptation, whether that be adaptation assessments, creating something like a stormwater utility, only it's a resilience utility, advancing retrofits of urban infrastructure, whether that be transportation, stormwater, et cetera, based on the site-specific issues, and modifying, that's our short-term adaptation, and then in the long term, modifying the building criteria with climate change issues in mind. And then a theme that I've heard a number of times already now is to have a regional transportation and transit system that is a unified system across our region so that development and redevelopment patterns are supporting a low-carbon multimodal choice. So again, our big idea is incorporating this into the culture of planning and governance. And in our group, and with Victor's permission, we have a special guest who is going to come up to the podium and tell you a little bit about her perspective.
I used to be an elected official, so I never stopped kids from speaking and getting a photo op with a kid. Oh, she needs this. Oh, okay. I didn't want to take your lunch. Smile again. Smile. Look. Okay, you can go now.
Hi, my name is Ashley, and I'm from Fort Lauderdale, and I will be retired in 2062. And we all need to recycle. We should recycle bags, chip bags, plastic bags, water bottles, and my camp is doing TerraCycle, which is where we put in a box, and it's stuff for the Broward County School, Broward College scholarship, and well, this is the stuff that I brought today to show you. We recycle this, and also we recycle these. So, thank you for your support.
Thank you, Ashley. Great job, because this is who we are really developing these visions for, so we appreciate that. Next, community assets and culture, culture group. Something that we are looking for in this group, culture. Oh, okay.
Theater major.
You have to come over here, theater major. I have one of those. Go ahead.
Okay, so what we came up with under culture, what we're looking at regionally is the natural, built, economic, and social environments as manifested through the creative industries. And folks came up with 12 different categories here that the region can look at in its entirety: history, education, public art and buildings, eco-art, collaboration and diversity, economic impact, private money, neighborhood revitalization, private public art, local government support, and multi-county funding for the arts. How do we get there? Well, we already have been working on this for about 25 years with the South Florida Cultural Consortium, which is comprised of Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, Martin, Monroe, and St. Lucie. No, Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, Martin, and Monroe. We have been working also to include Indian River in St. Lucie County so we can look at cultural mapping and assets from this entire area.
Wow. I can't believe that the artistic people stayed within the 1 minute time and came up with such great ideas and followed the instructions, unlike some other groups. But anyway, next we're going to have leadership. Leadership, something. Hey, Carla.
Hey, you wanted a tagline. We got one. If I can only find it. We need to develop a culture of coordination and collaboration. Live locally, think globally. That's it. Just to elaborate just a bit so my group doesn't kill me, we didn't bother with the map because everybody really thought regionally to begin with. Filled in a few boxes, and then everyone came to agreement that these issues are overarching in a regional nature. We need more coordination and collaboration that is regionally focused, especially on issues such as economic diversity, transportation corridors that cross county lines or should cross county lines, major regional policies, major regional infrastructure such as ports and airports, and we need to realign the media markets because they just don't work for us. And we need to get rid of this East versus West, the haves and the have-nots, Eastern-based governments making decisions for everyone with no input from the Western regions. We need leadership training for emerging leaders. As was referenced in this morning's demographics, we need to make sure that those folks are part of the decision-making organizations within our region. So integration, coordination, collaboration, live locally, think globally.
All right. And of course, the leadership group did not use the format that we proposed. Who would have thunk? Who would have thunk? But you know, as one thing that I'm going to do here that Victor's going to kill me, but I'd like to see if anybody in here out of any group has any other big ideas that was just amazing to you that you had never heard about regional governance, regional leadership, regional development. Anybody got anything that really came out of their group that was not shared? Startle us, yes. Shock me. What a bright group.
We got one right there.
Where?
Just shout out.
Shout it out.
Yeah, I think we should have high-speed wireless internet across the 7 counties so that we connect everybody. It will save economically on education, will save on communication, early warning systems, and also put all of us together as a community globally as well as locally.
Okay, did everybody hear that? High-speed regional internet. Next. Wireless.
One or two more.
Anybody else? Andrew? You had one? Oh, yes.
I was with a group that did the economy, and we all thought the format of individual counties was a bad way to go to even get through this exercise. But what it was a trick question. We tried to fill it in anyway, but in the end, the issue was we thought that the state ought to offer incentives to counties to do economic development jointly, perhaps even holding back the tax incentives available throughout the state until there's evidence of regional cooperation, so that you don't qualify for the tax credits for jobs, et cetera, until you've entered into an interlocal agreement with other counties in your region. So we think the state ought to take that up.
All right. Kevin?
Something that popped up in a couple of ways. Our governance, let's say, is systemically flawed, but can use some improvements so they can be more responsive to the needs in the next 50 years. One of the things that Shane brought up, one of our members, is that Florida is unique among states in that they send $1 to Washington and only get 20 cents back, whereas some states send $1 to Washington and get $2 back. There's no way that we can solve our state and regional problems in a system like that. It doesn't work. So eliminating corruption and changing the system might be slightly, it may just need some minor adjustments, but what we have now doesn't seem to be working. There's too much polarization on a national, state, and regional level.
Thank you. One more question.
Something that was talked about in my group that was really a key issue was the brain drain factor. While we don't really have the jobs to retain the youth in this area, we don't have really the academic standpoint to retain people here. So we need, there's already some, but further academic investment in the region, especially from Florida Atlantic and IRSC.
Thank you all very much. A few more comments. Let me also thank the South Florida Regional Planning Council, Treasure Coast, Marcella, the whole team that did a great job of pulling this together. I think as we look, give them a hand. As we look forward, I think we're going to talk about ways to reach into a more diverse part of our community based upon those statistics that we had up there today. So we do recognize that, and I'm excited about that. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Let's thank Clarence Anthony.